Hey everybody, this is Andy Hall, your best advice ever, the show where awesome people come on and give the best advice they ever received. Today our guest is comedian Lahna Turner.
Hi.
Lahna, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you
Great.
to be
You've
here.
done a whole bunch of different comedy specials like Ralphie May and If These Lips Could Talk, Dick Jokes and Other Assorted Love Songs, a whole bunch of. You've had a long and very productive career.
Thank you. Yeah. I've written a lot of jokes, a lot of really good dick jokes and some other jokes that aren't just dick jokes.
Right,
But therefore I'm great at giving advice.
right.
Yeah, or passing advice forward.
Sure, sure. And of course you have this movie coming out, What's Eating Ralphie May.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I've taken a look at the trailer and a few of the interviews that you've done and some of the people who are involved in the project have done. Wow. I raw. I mean, a few words that come to mind. It looks very raw, very true. Yeah, very moving. Tell you want to just talk about the movie for a minute or two?
Sure. So my late husband was also a comedian, Ralphie May, very well known, heavy set comic that we were together for nearly 2 decades. And at the end of, towards the end of his life, we decided to do a documentary. It was going to be a weight loss documentary. And it, like any good documentary, I guess, it didn't end up being what we had intended it to be. Instead, it ended up being a really, really sad story. He didn't end up losing weight, and he ended up losing his life. He also ended up leaving the marriage. Spoiler alert, he didn't, he died. But it's a really, really amazing story, and it's terrible because I'm in it, and it's probably the worst year of my life. That's going to be shared. We don't know yet where it's going to air.
Yeah.
That's something I'll know in the next few months. I'll be making an announcement, but there's a website where you can sign up for an email list and get announcements for what's upcoming and festivals we've already premiered in Nashville at the film festival there. We won Best of the Fest there. And then we had another screening at Doc Fest LA, and we won Best Documentary, and have gotten amazing reviews. So a lot of people are really excited about the film, but it's really sad. And the best advice from that would be the only person you can change is yourself. Sort of the lesson of the film.
I was thinking, I heard you say that on one of the interviews, and that must be very difficult, because comedy, for people who aren't engaged in doing comedy, don't realize how much control the comedian has to exercise while performing. Not only do they have to control themselves, but it's really about wrangling the audience too.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, you do stand up for years, so you encounter a lot of different audiences and a lot of different situations, and then you can learn how that, no comic starts on stage on a Saturday night. Everyone kind of starts at like some little open mic in some unknown bar and do that for a long time. And then you work a lot of really hard one-nighters in different parts of the country. And all of that gives you the ability to understand what you're doing on stage better. I think it just takes time, like anything in life. The more you do it, the more you fail at it, the better you'll be when you get to the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends the other day about controlling the things that you can control, and the things you can't control, you just can't control.
Yeah. I tried you'll see in the film, I tried really hard for my entire relationship with Ralphie to help him accomplish a goal that early on I know he wanted, but as time went on, I think it became impossible for him at some point to move into a healthier life. But sure. I really, really tried way too hard beyond the point of reason. But I loved him. And when you love somebody who is an addict, and as sad as it is, you will go to extreme lengths to try and get that person sober, which the lesson is you can't. I mean, no matter what I did, I had to take care of myself. And I realized that I also was sick. And then I learned about addiction and that there's a lot of different roles that people play amongst the structure that is addiction. So I figured out I'm a codependent, and I had to go through that and find a healthier me.
Sure.
So, but yeah, you'll see it in the movie, which again, it's an amazing movie. It's sad, but I want to say it's one of the most insightful comedy documentaries just into what, like, behind, because we really let down the guard. I mean, you'll see a lot.
Right. Because the you were filmed for a solid year.
Yeah, Kat Reinhardt was the director. She also edited the project. It's really important. I always want everyone to know I didn't edit the film. I didn't even choose the title of the film. Um, so I gave up a lot of control. I'm an executive producer. I hired Kat. I was intending to make this film. It was our own project. But when I realized how much of the film was about me as well as Ralphie, I had to give up editing control to keep it neutral. And Kat had witnessed the whole story, so logically she was the best person to put the film together as well. She did a really good job.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it was a huge responsibility for her. She took it very seriously.
Right. I saw an interview with her.
Oh, good.
And she seemed very earnest in trying to get to the truth of the story, mm-hmm. and trying to reveal what was going on.
Yeah, no, and she did. She filmed for 9 months, and then she went out again and filmed a little bit with Ralphie after we split, and then she filmed again with the kids and I after Ralphie passed, and some of the other, like his memorial, a few other things that you'll see in the film. Yeah, it's super sad.
Yeah. I'm really sorry because when we talked back in 2016 before, before his passing, and I felt for you then. There was a lot of stuff that we didn't air on the podcast, back on the Naked Dinah podcast back then. And, how, when you think about this piece of advice about controlling the things you can't, letting go of the things that you can't, that you can't control, how does that affect your day-to-day life now?
I mean, I don't have nearly the whirlwind around me that I had back then. It's a lot calmer. I'm a lot more supported than I was back then. So I'm a lot more careful who I bring into my life now. With Ralphie there, being that his addiction was so strong that he brought a lot of people into our world that were also maybe not the healthiest people. So I've had to be more careful. And I mean, I have a huge responsibility. I've got 2 young kids, and so keeping them in a healthy way is really important.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And I don't want to control them, but I want to make sure that they make good decisions. So I'm trying my best with them, and hopefully the addiction cycle ends. It doesn't continue, but we'll see. Can't control altogether. I can just give them the best childhood possible, and yeah.
You can definitely see a lot of people who try to, and this is what I know from my own personal life, is that when you try to control things too much, you can just push people into sickness that may not have been, or made it, maybe exacerbated, maybe made it worse, and it's when you want to hold on to things so hard, it's difficult to manage that.
Yeah, I think with Ralphie, when I met him, he was 800 pounds. He was already ate up with addiction when it came to food. I didn't understand it. And I think addictions change throughout life for somebody who has that issue, because he's not dealing with whatever it was, the inner damage that caused it. So as time went on, and with Ralphie, he was wonderful with doing things big. I mean, always throughout life, he never did anything with subtlety, so everything was like over the top and super fun and like really exciting. But on the same note, when he did other things big, it was not good. So about 7 years before we split up, he'd had a pulmonary embolism and ended up on prescription pain pills, and those were done big. And with his celebrity status and finance, he was able to get whatever he wanted. Yeah. So he was able to sneak around, and I just didn't know a lot of what was going on around me because it was so well hidden. You hear about an alcoholic who hides their vodka in the toilet. You can be around them all day long and have no idea that they're drinking, because they're so good at hiding it. And that was the case with Ralphie for, every now and every so often I'd find something and confront him, and then we'd move on. Or he did a stint in rehab and I thought he was off the pills, but he wasn't. So, I mean, I don't think I exasperated it, but I definitely think I was the parent that he was hiding it from, which was weird to me. Like sodas and all kinds of stuff. Like there was like a soda cartel behind my back that I didn't know about, which is, I just didn't want the man drinking soda because he had gastric bypass and it would eat his intestinal lining. But I was somehow like the soda Nazi. Like, I was just, what are you going to do? You love somebody, you want them to be healthy, but you can't control them.
Yeah, indeed. And it is. Well, I don't know how many people have thanked you for making the movie, but thanks for doing this. It's important. I just saw Gary Goldman's movie, The Great Depression, about his battle with depression, and these movies, these documentaries, they are really important to get the message out about people's struggles, everyday struggles, right?
It's a common experience. I think everybody is dealing with something, and so thank you. Yeah, I felt that way at both of the screenings because we had large audiences come out, and at the end they could ask questions and really delve into the film, and the audience reaction was amazing at all of the screenings.
If you don't mind me asking, was there a moment that you caught yourself? In other words, you were doing something that you felt like you're holding on to, or and then you checked yourself. You're able to say, wait, I'm trying to control something, and what that I really don't have any control over. Was there a moment like that?
In my relationship, like in my marriage, or
any, in marriage or even afterwards.
Yeah, there was an amazing moment for me for that. I guess about 6 months after everything was really had it really exploded, maybe not even that long. Ralphie had acquired a girlfriend, and she was young, like from Florida, and she was digging for gold. And so I was pretty sad about this. And I was also like, man, she's like not remarkable. Get something but he spent a lot of money on this girl in a very short period of time. And one day she got arrested, and it was DUI, possession, and the third one was a loaded handgun, and It was his car. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, I don't have to clean up this mess. This is the first time where I was like, this is not my problem. Like, all those years, crazy things happen to Ralphie or the people around Ralphie, because that's the type of people he would bring in to his world, and therefore they'd be in my world. And so constantly cleaning up these messes. And I was like, I don't have to clean this one up. This is not my problem. And it was just an indication too of where he was in his life. I mean, this is a pretty awful human being, but yeah, that was a weird time to have an epiphany though.
Sure. Well, that's how epiphanies are, aren't they? They don't run on time schedules. They just kind of appear.
Yeah, it was just funny to me. I'm like, wow, well, this one I don't have to deal with. Hey. And then I felt relieved that I'm like, yeah.
Right, because there's a burden lifted off you, right?
Yeah. And I also was kind of a good thing, because I was like, well, that's what you get. There you go. But it's all very sad, really. I mean, and I'm not just saying that to come off it's true. It's really sad. She's sick too. She entered into a really sick situation. She's really young, and she did it for finance, which didn't work out well for her, I don't think. She didn't benefit in life from that. Yeah. There you go. If she was my daughter, I'd be horrified. So we learn as we get older, but whatever.
Well, we try to, right?
Yeah.
What else do you have working on right now? What else are you working on?
Oh boy. Well, the film is in I'm looking for a distributor right now. I've got a couple of interested people. So that's exciting. In 2020, the beginning of the year here, we're going to figure that out. So like I said, I'll be announcing where the film will be. That's a huge, huge thing. I'm working on my next 1 hour special. I'm still going out on the road and doing stand up. I've got a couple of gigs coming up here at the end of the month. I'm going to be up in the Ohio area for a couple of days. And then I also, because of those question and answers, after the documentary, I started writing my book. I'm 4 chapters in, and then I have the whole book outlined. And I've been working aggressively on for the last few months, and I'm really, really excited. I've never written a book before, but it's been really cathartic, and I think it will be really good complement to the documentary, so people can have a lot of questions answered, because there was a lot of stories around what was going on.
Has your journey made you become or changed your habits in terms of self-care over the years?
Being with Ralphie definitely made me very interested in fitness and diet, because I always felt like, hey, if I'm eating healthy, if I'm exercising, you'll want to come and do it too. I think it was more like that cartoon character that's like, come on, come on, come on, come on. And then the other one's like, whoa. But I still became really interested in, oh, well, what can I learn about this stuff? So, yeah, definitely like had a positive effect on me, I guess. I love exercising. That's my sanity. Maybe my addiction. And I feel like if I don't move my body in a challenging way, I don't feel healthy in my mind.
Sure. That's good. That's good. I'm glad that it sounds like everything is moving along in your life in a very positive way.
Yeah, I'm really happy right now. Like, it took a lot. It was a really hard couple of years, and I was holding on to something that wasn't healthy for me, and I wasn't the one that filed for divorce even, and that's that's something that got lost in the tabloids or whatever. I would never have left my marriage. I took a vow through sickness and in health, and I really wanted to honor those vows, but in some ways he did me a favor. It would have been nice if he'd have left the marriage and it'd have been a more pleasant like dismount, but he was pretty angry, and in hindsight, that's a lot of the pills and people around him. But yeah, it was challenging a couple of years, but yeah, I've come out of it pretty well, and I'm in a good spot, which I'm happy about. But my kids lost out on having their father, which they'll always have to deal with that. But they do have a lot of really positive, wonderful people in their lives that are there to support us.
Well, that's just like you said. It's about having a good support system around you. That's increasing all the positive vibes.
Yeah. Well, and lots of therapy. One of the bits of advice I thought when you're like, oh, this is an advice show, was I had two. So a therapist gave me really good advice about getting through stuff. And she said, you don't really have a bad day. You kind of just have a series of bad moments. And even within those moments, it can't all be bad, because your blood is constantly moving through your body. The environment is always changing. You're never going to be in the same place from second to second. So you can always get to a better spot by just moving through it and getting to the other side, which I thought was really good advice. And then when I first met Ralphie, actually, my mom was not a big fan of his, and she sent me to a therapist because she's like, thought I was crazy. Probably am. But that therapist gave me really good advice too, which came in handy, which said, sometimes the only thing you can do is cry. And I thought that was great advice, because it's true. Sometimes there's nothing else you can do, and the most cathartic thing is just to let it go.
Because if you don't, it's just gonna like bound up in here, and it's just gonna be worse if you hide from it.
Yeah, right. And talk about it, get through it. So your blood is moving, you can cry, get through it. So those were 2 pieces of good advice that I'd gotten through this whole process. And my personal advice is for a healthier outlook to taking care of yourself. I love to say, exercise, eat healthy, laugh a lot, do something good, maybe you can help somebody else, and get laid or masturbate. Because those things will help you feel happy. It's really hard to be angry after you've come, right? Like, let's be honest.
It really is.
That moment
right.
after, you can't be like, I'm still pissed. You're just like, oh, okay, we're going to be all right.
It really is. As you get older, you realize that a lot of mental health, a lot of life is just about endorphin management, right? Just controlling all the happy hormone, chemicals in your head.
And like that endorphin management. That should be like on a t-shirt or something.
Oh, right.
I'm managing my endorphins.
That's great.
Yeah.
Lahna Turner, it's been fantastic having you on the show.
Well, I had the best bit of advice, though. Hold on. I had like one piece of advice that was really, really good. I'll try and make it quick, though. This was the story. You're like, you got to come up with a story. Before I started comedy, when I was really young, I was a photographer, and I worked for the Associated Press. I was the youngest person at the time in Houston to get an internship there, and I loved it. But before I got that, one of the things I snuck into the Republican National Convention, which doesn't sound like, yeah. Basically, I wanted to get pictures of presidents, and in Houston there was the Republican National Convention. I got a pass to get in the first day, and ended up getting onto the floor of the convention so I could get the pictures of everyone. But I didn't get a pass for the next couple of days, and I really wanted to get back in there. So I called the congressman, was able to score a ticket to get into the arena, but not onto the floor. So I spent the day trying to sneak down to the floor, and of course it's like all big time security. And I figured out that after trying to penetrate all the different gates, that I could take an elevator down to the middle floor. And so I was in the middle area, but I couldn't get through to the actually standing where I could get the pictures I wanted. And there was a group of ralliers, which are these people that come in just to cheer.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm standing there amongst a group of ralliers, but I don't have the pass. And I'm trying to hide the fact that I don't have the right pass to be in that area. And there's Secret Service walking around. I'm terrified. I'm young. And I'm like, I'm going to get arrested or something. Something bad is going to happen. And I ran into this guy. And I only talked to him for maybe less than 5 minutes. And I told him my situation. I said, I really want to get in there. I don't know what to do. And he said, just go. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? When the door opens, just walk through. And I was like, oh my God. And so my brain was like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, I'm not going to die. Okay. So I stood there for a minute. The doors opened. As I was being pushed through, because there was a crowd of people, this woman grabbed me, screamed in my face, where's your pass? And I just blurted out, I dropped it. And she put one in my hand and pushed me through the door.
That's great.
Well, the guy disappeared. I looked for him and I never saw him again. And so I've kind of lived that mantra throughout my life. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And why not go for this? And really in life, there's very few things that aren't worth doing. I mean, even some things that are worth death, you're like, okay, what's the possibility of death if I bungee jump off this bridge? No, don't want to take that chance. Yeah. It might be worth it, right? So
right.
Yeah. So that's my advice for the day. So whenever you got something you're not sure, probably something good will come out of it.
More than one therapist has told that to their clients, I'm sure. Because a lot of times people who are, I have a bit of anxiety, if you couldn't tell, and what happens is that people like me have a tendency to catastrophize a situation, right? And think about the worst case scenario, and that just creates this kind of negative, this feedback loop of crap, basically.
Yeah, it's like a spiral.
A spiral, exactly. And one of the things that helps me manage myself is telling myself that, what's the worst thing that can happen, Andy? And it's usually nothing that horrible.
Well, then that's good advice. So the four things are, sometimes all you can do is cry.
Yeah.
Your blood is constantly moving through your body, so eventually things will get better. What's the worst thing that can happen? Go exercise, eat healthy, laugh, do something constructive, and have sex and masturbate. That's my advice.
And about knowing about control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And knowing that the only person you can change is you. There we go. We just wrote a self-help book.
Right there. Maybe a song too. I don't know.
And what was the T-shirt?
Managing Endorphins?
Managing Endorphins. There you
Endorphin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Where can people sign up for information about the movie?
So the movie has a website. It's just What's Eating Ralphie May. And of course, on all the social media platforms, for me, Lahna Turner, you can find me on YouTube or Facebook. I have a website, Instagram, all those places. And then I'm still having all of Ralphie's, all still managed, lots of updates, lots of old content gets put up on his pages still. And it, very much honoring his legacy. So you can still get on there and keep up with all the stuff that's upcoming.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for coming on The Best Advice Ever.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.